Please stand, everyone, for the national anthem. Thank you. Please be seated. This meeting of Ajax Council is being held in a hybrid meeting format with virtual and in-person participation by members of the public, staff, and council. This meeting is also being live streamed and may be viewed online at ajax.ca/live. A friendly reminder to all participants, please use your microphone at all times for the benefit of those participating in council chambers and joining remotely. To those making submissions as part of a public meeting, please ensure you sign in using the sheet available at the accessible lectern to preserve rights available to you under the Planning Act or other applicable legislation. Now call this meeting to order. I want to begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land in which we gather is situated within the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas, more specifically the Mississaugas of Scugog Islands First Nation, signatories of the Gunshot Treaty of 1788 and the Williams Treaties of 1923. This land is and will continue to be home to the Indigenous peoples. Let us acknowledge the mistakes and traumas of the past through authenticity and support truth and reconciliation. Let us engage and celebrate Indigenous communities by being leaders of action in acknowledging the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the Truth and Reconciliation recommendations towards truth and reconciliation. Let us keep these principles close as we continue towards truth and reconciliation and as we move forward with kindness and respect as a community. Does any member of council have any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing, hearing none, please note, clerk, I need the resolutions back, whoever has them, please. At least give me 1 and 2. First one, adoption of the minutes, moved by Councillor Crawford, second by Councillor Lee, that the following minutes of previous council meetings be adopted. The special meeting of March 24, 2025, the regular meeting of March 24, 2025, and the closed meeting of March 24, 2025. Any errors and omissions, amendments, comments on the minutes? Hearing, seeing none, please vote. And that carries. To the clerk, were any questions submitted under question period by any member of the public?
Mr. Chair, no.
Does any member of the public present today have any questions on matters on the agenda that they wish to ask questions on? Hearing, seeing none. Moving on to delegations, and we're going to do I don't see the motion to waive the rules to the clerk. Is there one, or do you just want me to do it freestyle it? Okay. So I need a motion, mover, and a second to waive the rules to allow additional delegation. Moved by Councillor Bauer, second by Councillor Lee. that the rules of procedure be waived to allow an additional delegation on, I'll call it the red brick development, if that's acceptable. I understand that we have a large group here today, that you have one person that's going to come and speak as a delegation to council. Is that nod? Okay. Questions? No, those in favor? That carries. So we will, we have two delegations. We'll put you as 5-3 and we'll move the presentation to 5-4. Did we vote? Yes, that carries. Okay, moving on to our first delegation, Community Care Durham's One Connect program. James Malash, CEO, Community Care Durham, and Jennifer Hammond, Vice President of Client Services for Community Care Durham. Please come forward, sign in, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and to members of council and staff. It's a pleasure to be here today. I want to first of all acknowledge that this council over about a year ago passed an adoption of a PACE program, which then local members of the community and Councillor Dyes, Councillor Bauer organized here in this meeting, and we were asked to attend a meeting around the PACE program. I'm here today to provide you an update about what we've been doing at Community Care Durham to bring that program alive here in Ajax and in Durham Region. We call it One Connect. Today, I'm going to focus on just a couple of the highlights. One of the things that we are very clear about is that we are not simply addressing an aging population. At Community Care Durham, the average age of our volunteers is 63 years old. Seniors are active members of our community, they're contributing members to our community, and we don't think aging is a disease or a diagnosis. What we're addressing is frailty. Frailty is a multidimensional factor that includes health, physical environments, economic environments, and mental health. And those frailties can be reversed, but often those people living with frailties are at most risk of losing their independence. And in Durham Region, there's about 27,000 older adults who are considered living with frailty. One thing I will tell all of you, and most of you are working professionals, is I have not read one person's LinkedIn account says that their goal is to retire to long-term care. Actually, 0% of Ontarians want to go to long-term care, and even those who need it, about 90% would prefer to stay home if they had the supports available to them. The problem is that caregivers and the clients that we serve are navigating a very complex web of health and social services that are not at all integrated, and oftentimes they're simply seen as transactions by a healthcare system rather than as whole persons. And these things lead to loss of independence, hospitalizations, or premature visits to the long-term care home. You've seen the data, but in Durham Region, it takes about 578 days on average for people to be admitted into long-term care. And in that period of time, it's an incredible stress on the families themselves and on our health and social services system. So that if you think about that, you could be waiting for 6 years possibly to get into long-term care of your choice. We have proposed a solution at Community Care Durham that's leveraged on our current assets as well as our expertise and our innovations in the community, and we're calling it One Connect. That would be the first of its kind solution in Ontario for a made-in Durham solution to address the issues of frailty, both home, community supports, health, and social supports. I won't go into the definitions of PACE, it's all there. And I won't talk a lot about Community Care Durham because I hope most of you know who we are. But this is the vision. A single program for roughly 150 individuals, which would be the equivalent of a new long-term care home without a single build, where they would have access to a single program that provides home care through assisted living, nursing supports, health care through community pharmacy, physical activation, adult day program services, transportation, food security, and social services in a single program with a single budget and a single coordinating team. This essentially would be the equivalent of a long-term care in the community, but people living in their homes. We are ready to implement this with the funding that we're asking the Ontario government for, effective immediately. And we've been pushing our own growth as an organization to address the needs of our community, and Jennifer's here with me. We started a nursing program, again, the first of its kind, about 2 years ago. We now have 10 nurses working in the community alongside our personal support workers, We're now doing hospital-to-home program where we're taking people out of Lakeridge Health, out of the Emerge, into their home on the very same day they present and providing them with care in the community. And we've developed a business architecture that allows us to grow and scale a solution such as OneConnect. I would love to come here one future day to talk about a home away from home in Ajax. Currently, we do not have a day program here. It's an essential foundational piece to run this program. But in Whitby, we received a $2.3 million federal grant through the Korean Inclusive Communities Fund to renovate our current location into a home away from home site that will have day programs, nursing stations, personal care facilities like hair salons, skin care, audiology, and you name it, so that people, when they come into the community, they can be seen by an entire integrated team and they can go home that same day providing care relief for their caregivers. So as I said, this has not been implemented in Ontario, and we are looking to do this here in Ajax and Whitby with 75 clients in Whitby and Ajax to get this started with the funding we're asking for the provincial government. And we're coming to council for your support as we bring this business case forward for its funding and consideration. But we know that this solution is scalable in Ontario, not just Durham Region, and we have many organizations who are willing to support us and implement their own models if we're successful. This is our budget. The key thing here is the taxpayers in the room. It costs over $200 a day at a minimum to keep people in long-term care. Our solution is $90 a day with no capital expense. We'd like to get this going as soon as possible, and we want Ajax to be the start of it. And again, thank you to this council for passing the resolution in support of PACE. We have a solution here in front of you, Your Worship, and we'd ask the council for its support as we move this forward to the provincial government for funding.
Does that conclude your presentation? Thank you. Questions on the delegation? Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. First, a comment is just everything I knew about frailty in our older adult population was thrown out the window sitting next to these two, as I am the most frail of the three of us. So just a quick question. We need provincial support on this. Was there any commitment prior to the most recent provincial election that this government was interested in investing in a PACE program?
I would say there is indirect interest, and the provincial government is looking for alternatives that are cost-effective, that deliver on the needs of our communities, and I think we just needed to give them a solution to fund. We've met with all of the MPPs from the region, both prior to the writ being dropped, and now met with them again afterwards, and I can tell you, Councillor Lee, that the support we've been receiving from our elected officials, both in Pickering and Whitby and MPPs, and now with Durham Region, has been incredibly encouraging. So we feel we have momentum behind this proposal. We simply need to get your support as we bring it forward for the bureaucracy to consider.
As far as support goes, you're looking for a commitment, kind of like a letter of support with the program. Is that different than the motion that was passed previously? Councillor Bauer, do you know that? We had passed a motion, this Ajax Council, in support of PACE. Will we have to pass another letter on top of that?
There is a motion coming forward today.
Great. And then it mentions a use of site plan application for space. Would the space at our community centers not be a viable option? Because as you know, in Ajax, we actually lack space is kind of a key thing. So would you be able to run programming out of the Ajax Community Center or one of our senior groups' space?
Well, we do run some of our programs out of Ajax spaces. So we run falls and exercise programs, and we also run foot care programs in this area. However, there needs to be some work and planning with your staff around physical planning, capital planning, and redevelopment. So just to give you an example, there is no day program that's publicly funded in Ajax at the present time. And we have over 150 residents of this community who are on a wait list for our program in Pickering or in Whitby. We want to bring that program as close to home as possible, and we need space to do that. In my meeting with the Commissioner for Health and Social Services, we are starting to forge an alliance around planning for future developments of community space that can bring organizations like ours together to provide integrated solutions with municipalities around the care of the elderly as well as other social groups that need our support.
Great. Those are great answers. Fully support, so I appreciate you delegating. Thank you, Chair.
Welcome. Councillor Dice.
Thank you. That answered my question, but I just want to reiterate, I do fully support this program. I know as a caregiver myself, there are no supports really in place for seniors as they age, and most of our seniors want to age at home. There is nowhere else. There are no other alternatives actually right now for that, even to downsize. So it's much, much needed, and specifically, I really like the program that you have out of a center where you have the ability to bring people together and have day programs for seniors as well, so they get to meet other people and which helps their overall mental health. So thank you so much for coming again, and of course I will support this program going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dawes, and thank you for your support in our local conversations.
Thank you, Mayor. So first of all, thank you for everything you do. Your current programs kept my mother alive for many, many years, 655 Harwood Avenue South, and you did a fabulous job. So thank you to you and your team. I want to ask, of course I'm going to support this without question, but I do want to ask some questions with regards to financing. So you're asking for some funding from the provincial government. Will that funding come directly to you through this application, or will it go through the region to you?
So we are a funded organization from the Ministry of Health and through Ontario Health. So the funding would come to us.
Directly?
We see the municipalities and regions as partners as we grow this program. What we'd like to do is get this first program going for 150 local residents to show the outcomes of integrating supports in the home and the community and health and social services. We have no doubt this will be successful. We just need to show in the current system that silos all these programs through different funding envelopes and different providers. One of the reasons why we've been successful so far is that Community Care Durham provides a vast range of these services to date. And by having a single funder, we're able to address the needs of the client as they adjust, rather than making an application or another assessment to another organization, which takes time, and maybe they go on a wait list and maybe they don't. By putting the funding in one envelope, we're able to respond quickly to the needs of our clients, whether they need supports in the home, they need additional capital, maybe some furniture in their home that needs to be fitted for them, additional drives, cut down the bureaucracy, get the dollars to the clients that need them, and having one organization will do that will actually significantly improve the efficiency and the effectiveness.
Well, amen, because yes, you're right. I know firsthand experiencing that with my mother, how difficult a lot of that was. A building that the region owns currently, Councillor Lee asked about using our facilities through the town, and I'm going to ask you about regional-owned buildings such as 655 Harwood that has geared rent income, seniors in buildings, and I know there used to be a space in there prior to COVID where PSWs rested. They took that away during COVID. Would a space like that in a regional-owned building be able to be used for this type of programming?
Yes, as you're correct, we do provide assisted living services right from the hub on Harwood Avenue now, where, again, it's anyone within a 5-kilometer radius that meets our criteria is eligible to receive this service free of charge, fully subsidized, of personal support care, homemaking, and reassurance in their home. We currently have a wait list for this program, unfortunately. What we need is space, is not just a hoteling station for staff to come into a building like that, but is to bring people out of the home into a community setting where they'll see other residents, they'll socialize, they'll be able to do physical and mental cognitive work, they'll be able to give their caregivers a break. And in our vision is they'll be able to see a nurse, see a social worker, engage with all the aspects, get their hair done, check their nails. You know, we laugh about the hair salon thing because any of you know how you look and how you feel matters.
It matters. It's
right?
important. It's
and
very
if you don't
important.
have purpose,
Yeah.
and if you don't have a reason why, then you're not looking after yourself.
Yeah.
And we want to give people purpose.
And the nails are very important when we're talking about senior care because
Foot
of
care,
infection.
exactly.
Yes,
So we're
100%.
preventing falls, you name
Yeah.
it. So we need a different space than simply an apartment, but space where we can bring those seniors together. And we are looking at new locations as well in Whitby, but we'd like to find a future location here in Ajax.
Excellent. Let this council know how we can help you further moving forward. Thank you.
Councillor Crawford.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship, thank you for your presentation. I'm very happy to hear that aging is not a disease, as I just turned 63, so very happy that. I definitely support this. I'm just wondering, are you coming to the region also for a letter of support or a motion of support?
We are working our way there, Councillor Crawford. Thank you to Councillor Dyes and with Mayor Roy from Whitby and with the Commissioner. We hope to be there in June to make a delegation to the committee and hopefully to the whole regional council.
Excellent.
Again, we are not asking for funding from neither level of government. We're looking for support and strategically about how we make Durham the best place to age and to support our community. And I think we can do that.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm tired about hearing about all the great work in Hamilton or Ottawa or down Burlington. I want to make Durham the place that people think of as the place to grow older, the place they want to raise a family. And we can do that. And I want to do it here.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
Councillor Bauer. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Collier. Thank you so much for coming today, Mr. Meloche, and for the presentation. I will say to my council colleagues and to everyone in this room that James and the other members of the PACE committee we call, that Joanne and I formed, the passion and the information and the knowledge that comes from the work that you do and the experience you have, this is every meeting. To have so much energy and compassion and willingness to hear no many, many, many times. And you keep coming and you keep showing us why this is important. And we all know because we all have loved ones and we all have seniors in our lives. So first, I want to say thank you for that. It's so impressive, and we fully support you, as you can see. To clarify, Regional Councillor Lee, your question earlier, the motion that Joanne and I Regional Councillor Dyes and I presented last year was to ask the region to support the PACE concept. The motion that we are presenting today is to ask the province to support it. So, and it has a little bit extra information and that we didn't have last time. So I did have a question, and you've mentioned it and sort of answered it about the adult day programs, and that we don't have one in Ajax, which is so unbelievable. And maybe you can just repeat, what happens in an adult day program? Why is it so important?
You know, I think what I'll do is I'll give you a story.
Okay.
I met Anna at the Pickering Adult Day program about a year ago, and she had recently moved to Canada from Argentina. And when she moved here, she lost her husband within a few months, and she was entirely alone. She arrived at our day program in tears. She was lost and didn't have any sense of purpose. She had early onset dementia, and she had no supports in the community. She's brought to our day program by our transportation drivers, and she's meeting with a very energetic group of people who are recreationists and other staff, volunteers, who give her joy. When I took her photo, and which hangs up on my wall now at my office, there's a huge smile on Anna's face. And she goes home at the end of the day realizing that she had a reason to get out of her home. And I will tell you this, that loneliness and isolation have more of a risk health than smoking and alcohol consumption. Wow. Because when people are lonely, they stop caring for themselves and they give up hope. We're helping Anna, and there's lots of other Annas out there. Many people come to our program fearful, thinking, I don't want to go there, it's not for me. But within 2 visits, they can't wait to come back. Mm-hmm. We want to bring the sense of community to Ajax, and we also want to bring those new services that we mentioned. Jennifer and I happened to go to Peel Region about 2 weeks ago, where we saw their new program at their senior wellness program, where they have dental services, they have a physician on site. Let's bring those services together so caregivers are not driving around town, taking time off work, figuring out who's actually looking after my mom or dad. And I want to just put one other plug in here, because when Jennifer and I presented to Whitby Council about a month ago, we were followed out of the room by an older resident, and I thought she was looking for One Connect services. She was actually for her son. I would say she was probably in her late 80s, but her son was in her 50s, and he had a long chronic mental health issue. She was the only caregiver for her son, and she was burning out and had no one to help out. And we came across that when we were in Newmarket. Older adults are looking after their children from a system that kind of booted them out after a certain age.
Right.
So let's not just think about, you know, the older adult going into a day program, but we have many younger adults now coming into our day program who have physical or cognitive challenges, who now are meeting and socializing time with other residents of their community.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. And of course, you have my full support. Thank you, Mayor. Those are my questions.
Okay, I'm going to actually modify the agenda and move the motion up to this point so we can deal with it during this delegation. So Councillor Dias, Councillor Bauer, do you want to introduce your motion, please? Councillor Dias, please go ahead.
So the motion is on, trying to get the page here. It's on page 41. Do you want me to read it out? Are you okay?
Maybe just the therefores?
Therefores are, be it resolved that Ajax Council supports and endorses Community Care Durham's vision for implementing One Connect in Ajax, and Ajax Council encourages the Government of Ontario to provide the necessary funding to Community Care Durham to implement, evaluate, and scale One Connect to meet the growing needs of our aging population. And a copy of this motion be sent to, and there's a whole list, I don't know if you want me to read them all, but the Minister of Health is the main thing. It goes to Durham Region Health and Social Services Committee as well, the local housing corporation, Ashley Manor Housing Corporation here in Ajax, Cynthia Davis, the President and CEO of Lake Ridge Health, Lisa Kitchen, Director of the Durham Ontario Health Team, and Matt Anderson, President and CEO of Ontario Health.
Did either of you, the mover or seconder, wish to speak to it? No?
Well, if I'm still on, as I said previously, we've been working on this, which came to us from Seniors Ontario, and they're very passionate about this issue, about being able to support seniors in their homes. And it is very important. We're an aging population. We have a lot of seniors here in Ajax from all walks of life, and yet we have limited transportation for them to get around. Actually, there's none in South Ajax, and they're very isolated. And I think, you know, besides the health issues that we can help them with, we can help them stay out of the hospital, which means you have more beds when there is a serious condition. So I think that is a key aspect as well, because we all know we're sort of reach the maximum at in our hospital system, but it also gives those, as we spoke of, who need to be socially active and enjoy life near the end of their life. So it's about mental health care, it's about overall physical health as well, and it's about quality of life. And I think just because we're older doesn't mean we don't count anymore. I think we still have value in knowledge and what we do, and I think we should support people in their end of life. So thank you.
Councillor Bauer is a seconder.
Thank you, Mayor Collier. Yes, I echo everything that Regional Councillor Dias has said, and I appreciate being on this motion with her. Thank you. And again, it comes down to there is a need in our growing seniors population. I think of it as, you know, I look at my father, for instance. I'm very lucky. I am one of 4 daughters. So my father will be able to age in place for as long as he's able to, with the help of his 4 personal daughter support workers. But yes, there's definitely that need, and there's the resource and the desire and the information, the knowledge to do it. And sitting at those committee meetings with members from the region, from CCD, from Ontario Health, from the town, where you learn about all of these resources and techniques that are available, but they're all siloed, so nobody, it was amazing to find out how many organizations are kind of doing the same thing, but not communicating with each other. And this is a way to bring it all together, sort of in one place, one-stop shop, and anything that we can do to help our seniors population, because we will all be seniors at one point in our lives. We want to be able to have that autonomy to stay where we are for as long as we can. So thank you for coming today. Thank you for this motion, and I ask my council colleagues for their support. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Henry?
Thank you. I just would like to suggest that number 3, therefore it be resolved that the presenter has already mentioned that they've worked with MPP from Whitby and Pickering to bring up these discussions with them, that a copy be sent to them as well. I'm not seeing their names here in the number 3, but I think it might be helpful for all Durham Region MPPs to have this, because this is something that we are bringing forth across the region.
Okay, is that considered a friendly to the mover and seconder? Or,
Yeah, it would be nice to reaffirm, right? To
Sure.
let them know that we stand. Thank
I'm
you.
adding and Durham MPPs to the end. Okay. Not seeing anybody else in the speakers list, please open the vote. And that carries unanimously. Thank you for your delegation. Moving on to our next item, 5.2, motion to call on federal government to support sustainable funding for para marine search and rescue. We have Clint Scott, Unit Training Officer and Community Development Officer, para marine search and rescue. Please come forward. You have 5 minutes.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members of council, staff, and community for allowing us to present this afternoon. I thought, in support of the motion, that I would take a couple of moments to update you on some of our efforts over the past year supporting the community, supporting Durham Region and its members, and then also raise some awareness around some of the funding and projects that we've undertaken. I do not, unfortunately, have a PowerPoint today, but I'll just talk through some of our notes. Paramarine Search and Rescue is a volunteer-based organization, as I'm sure members of council are well aware. We provide excellence in marine search and rescue here off of Ajax, Pickering, and Whitby on Lake Ontario. We're a volunteer-driven organization, currently with 52 volunteers. That includes our board members and our active search and rescue crew members and coxswains. Last year, in 2024, we provided a total of 8,216 hours of volunteer service to Durham Region residents on Lake Ontario. Those hours are made up by various different crew activities, and our patrol hours for last year looking after Durham Region waters was 2,640 hours. We spent just over 1,740 hours of training hours, and maintenance on our vessel, we spent just under 1,000 hours. We patrol the lake Wednesday, Thursday, Friday evenings, and then we're on Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays as well. And when we're not on the water, we're on 24-hour call-out. I think it's important to note that every one of our 52 members are volunteers. Nobody within the organization actually earns any kind of funds for their time and their service. A couple years ago, when we were last at council, we referenced the maintenance and replacement of some new our engines on the boat. The total project has cost just in equipment alone, has cost a little bit over $350,000. And so the motion that is being presented today will really help us. That $350,000 was purely capital expense. All of the volunteer hours that went into actually installing the engines and all of the other equipment associated, that was all donated time over the past year and a half. So a motion like this would really, really help our organization from a sustainable standpoint, because our vessel is old and the maintenance on this vessel is beginning to cost a lot of money to an organization such as ours, which lives purely on donations with some funding from an operational standpoint from the region itself. That funding is about $100,000 for 2025, which is an increase from last year's funding, but that covers off our maintenance on the vessel in terms of fuel and oil changes. So wanted to give you a quick little update in terms of our activity for the past year. All of these hours culminated in a number of missions or taskings that we participated in last year, and that was 29 missions that we were tasked on by the Joint Rescue Coordination Center to go and assist vessels in distress or boaters in distress or people in distress on Lake Ontario. That number is consistent for the past 3-4 years. We're seeing numbers in and around the 29 to 30 mark where we're tasked out to go and assist. That's certainly up from pre-COVID numbers where we were in the mid to high teens. So thank you very, very much for your time, Mr. Mayor, for council, for the opportunity to present today. And I just wanted to keep it short and sweet.
Thank you. Just before I open it up, quick question. How much is a new boat?
We estimate it's going to be about $2 million. We've in the process currently of speccing out a new vessel, and all of the price points are in around that $1.8 to $2.5 million.
Okay. When I was on your board, that number was $1 million. And we were looking at a funding strategy to put money together for that. How is that going?
We had a great funding strategy in place. In the past year and a half, we discovered some issues with our engines. And so the $350,000 that we just invested in the new engines, which will keep our boat floating for the next 5 to 8 years, that was money that we'd saved from our funding strategy in the past and depleted so that we could continue to provide the service to the region and to the residents.
Okay. I do know a little bit about boats, and I do know they are quite expensive. I'll open it up at this point. Councillor Tyler Moore?
Thank you, Your Worship. And thank you, Mr. Scott, for your presentation and for everything you do. I say it all the time. We talk about this today, but you're doing this 365 days a year in some capacity. 2 quick questions. Where are you in the call? When somebody's in peril, if there's a Mayday call, and I also have a boat much smaller than the ones we've been speaking about.
Yep.
Pontoon out on the lake. Sometimes it can get scary. So do they call 911 and then fire calls you? How does that work? Or do they call
There's
you
a
direct?
couple of different strategies behind that. So generally speaking, if you're on a boat with a VHF radio, that call, you'll issue a Mayday call on channel 16. That call will be heard by the Prescott Coast Guard radio station.
Right.
They will in turn connect with the Joint Rescue Coordination Center, who will contact us, or if we're on the water, or they'll contact the Fire Dispatch Center, who will then put a call out to us if we're not on the water.
That's what was my next question. I was going to say, so you do get calls sometimes from Ajax Fire saying, we have a situation here.
100% we do.
Perfect. And my final question is, how far up do you go? Like, the lake's huge, but about the 15-kilometer mark, you're almost at the...
We will literally go wherever Joint Rescue Coordination Center asks us to go. The U.S. coastline is approximately 30 nautical miles south of us, and I've personally been about 50 meters from that coastline.
Wow.
So wherever a vessel is in distress there is a joint shared service agreement between U.S. Coast Guard and us, and wherever the Coast Guard needs us to go, we will go. And we can operate our vessel for a good 24 hours nonstop if we need to.
Okay, that's amazing. And thanks for the work. Like I said, it's incredibly scary when you get into a bit of turmoil out there. Thank you so much, Your Worship.
Councillor Lee?
Thank you, Chair. What do other Lake Ontario municipalities do Do they all have a version of para?
There are multiple different versions of para around the community. They are volunteer organizations, much like ourselves. Some communities, such as Oakville Marine Search and Rescue, are supported by the local municipality. We're in a unique position because we are supported through the region, which includes Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby. But for the most part, on Lake Ontario and in some of the, and any federal body of water, there is units similar to ours.
So in the history of like the separation of municipal, provincial, federal, no one thought to properly organize and fund like a para service? Was this ever a provincial responsibility then was kind of brought down to us, or?
No, this para is actually a founding member of the Canadian Coast Guard Auxiliary, which celebrated its 45th year this year. We have been around as an organization for just over 60 years, approaching 65 years soon. We were originally started with Pickering Police Department back in the day, and have gone through some iterations, some changes, and now we form one of the members in the Coast Guard Auxiliary of Canada.
So take 2024 as an example. How many rescues did we do?
We were tasked out 29 times.
29 times.
Yes.
Okay. So it is important to kind of have your own equipment, but you also need like a dedicated funding model. So would this, our advocacy, which I see this motion, to the federal government, is this to ultimately set up a dedicated funding model for all para or Coast Guard auxiliaries, or just specifically this one?
My understanding is the motion would be to fund Para-Marine Search and Rescue as a model to work towards funding all other units as well.
Yeah, because $2 million a boat, just for the boat itself, it becomes prohibitive for any municipality to support with the current funding that it is. Okay, I obviously am fully supportive. Thank you for the answers. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Councilor Bauer.
Thank you, Mayor Collier. Good afternoon, Officer Scott. Thank you so much for being here today and for all of the information you've provided, which was, you actually answered all of my questions with that data, but maybe I'll confirm. Para Search and Marine Rescue is 100% comprised of volunteers, correct?
100%.
That's amazing. And so I know that the knowledge that you and your fellow volunteers, I sit on the board of Para, just to let everyone know, it's amazing the work that you do on a volunteer basis, and I've learned an awful lot. Unlike the mayor, I don't own a boat or have a lot of boating knowledge. But I was going to say, not only is it technical work, there's a lot of community engagement that Para does.
Yes.
Maybe you want to just talk a little bit about that, please?
Sure. Last year, in terms of community engagement events, whether we support the Canada Day festivals or other events around the community. We partner with Ajax Fire on the Family Safety Days. But last year, to the 3 municipalities, we provided 911 hours of event support. And we look at our total of 8,200 hours of community support as providing to the community as well. So while it's specific events at 911 hours, the 8,216 hours is also in support of the community.
Absolutely amazing. And I know that the region does provide funding, that you go and ask for funding from the region. And also there's small municipal grants that you apply for through Ajax, Pickering, and Whitby. So what we're looking for, maybe just to talk to Regional Councillor Lee's comment, is there is no dedicated support. There is some federal money for day-to-day, but nothing, a dedicated support amount of funding. So I'm making a statement. You certainly have. I'm glad you came today to tell us why it's so important that we support you. And when we see that we are a waterfront municipality, a lakefront municipality, we certainly need the expertise and efforts of you and your team. So thank you very much. That's it, Mayor.
Councilor Henry.
Thank you. As Councillor Bauer just stated, waterfront municipality, of course, there's no way that I will not support this motion. I would just like to bring up point 3 in the therefore it be resolved. Because currently right now we don't have an MPP, I believe, an office to send this to. So I'm hoping, number one, that we wait till after the election. We do have an office assistant. I apologize. I was under the understanding the office was closed. Okay, so what I'd like to suggest is that because we are encouraging all waterfront municipalities to do this, and the presenter said that this is covering
Hold on.
Whitby,
Councilor Henry, the
Pickering.
motion's not on the floor yet. So it's
Ajax.
questions to the delegate.
Oh, so I have skipped ahead. I'm sorry. So then I have no questions, but I will bring that up then when the motion comes
So
forward.
given that, I'm going to bring the motion forward to be dealt with at this time. Any questions on the motion? I'll open it up to the mover, Councilor Bauer, and
Yes,
then
I'll
me as the
wait.
seconder first. Did you want to speak to it further, Councilor Bauer? Okay, you want to read the therefores?
Yes, I'll find the motion. So a motion advocating for sustainable federal funding for paramarine search and rescue. Therefore, let it be resolved that Ajax Council calls on the federal government to commit sustainable and predictable funding from the federal government to paramarine search and rescue to support the organization's long-term operational needs, including vessel and equipment replacement, and for the continued safety and protection of residents on Lake Ontario, and that Ajax Council encourages all Durham municipalities and the City of Toronto to bring forward similar motions advocating for sustainable support for paramarine search and rescue. And finally, a copy of this motion be sent to the MP for Ajax, Rob Surjanic, the MPP for Ajax, Public Safety Canada, the Regional Municipality of Durham, all Durham Region Lower Tier municipalities, the City of Toronto, and Paramarine Search and Rescue. And again, maybe I'll just talk about the importance of the volunteer community for getting things done, making things happen. This crew works so hard to make sure that when they are called out to ultimately save someone's life, they have the equipment and the expertise that is required to do that. The fundraising efforts, these are a group of volunteers. No one is a fundraising consultant or an expert. Many of them work full-time. So the energy that needs to go in order to raise that money from private sources, perhaps, is very difficult. And I know that some of the strategic planning sessions have talked about how do we gain access to that type of resource to help para raise those funds. That is separate from this motion where, this is an important service that we need. And if the federal government, I know that there's candidates working right now, so hope to become our federal representative and hopefully or I'll make sure we send this information to them, as well as the councils in Pickering and Whitby, who sit on para with me. So this is we know it's important, and we're telling everybody it's important. So thank you again for coming here today, and I ask my council colleagues for their support. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. I'll just speak to it as a seconder, and while I'm speaking to it, I'm writing at the end of part 3, and to all Durham MPs and MPPs in the distribution list. I assume that's a friendly. I won't speak any more to this. We've had a lot of discussion. I'll just say I do absolutely understand the importance of this. Happy to second it as past board member, but probably the only person in this room that's ever needed these services when I nearly sunk a boat 15 years ago. So it is very important, and of course, happy to support. Seeing nothing further, can we open the vote, please? And that carries unanimously. Thank you, Clint.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Moving on
Thank
to
you,
our
Council.
next, the addition 5.3, delegation on, I will refer to it as the Red Brick community. I mean that in the utmost respect. It's just the name I can think of right now. Who would like to come forward and speak on your behalf? Please come forward, sign in, state your name, and you'll have 5 minutes.
From here?
There should be a sign-in sheet. It might be on the other podium there, actually. Oh.
All right. Thank you very much, Council and Mr. Mayor, for making the exception to allow me to speak today. My name is Tyler Hunting, and I will be speaking on behalf of dozens of Red Brick residents and concerned Ajax residents about the proposed demolition of our homes. Since receiving the notice of proposed demolition in early April, we are very fearful for our future. I believe you have all been handed out a one-pager to follow along, and while I will try to fit my presentation into the allocated 5 minutes, I do ask for additional time should I go over. Some background, our community is a vibrant one. We look out for one another, and this has always been the case. The Red Bricks were the first planned community in Ajax before Ajax was even incorporated as a town. Documents on the town's website say, the Red Bricks have historical value to the community because they have played a significant role in the creation of Ajax as a town. There are 3 reasons why why residents call the Red Bricks home. The strong sense of community, the buildings are safe and clean, and the rent is affordable. Our community is a mix of seniors, single families with children, immigrants, disabled, and many of our residents have resorted to food banks to feed their families. And I'm actually glad that we followed a presentation earlier today that was mentioning help for seniors. I'm sure many of our residents would actually love to take part in something like that. We are scared and would like to remind everyone that we've done nothing wrong. Durham Region has an 11,000 resident waiting list for affordable housing supports, and the FAQs produced by the town have been updated recently, removing a statement that the town was working with Durham Region to assist with displaced residents. If this development is allowed to go forward, we will join this list, and we are afraid that many of us will end up homeless. The Durham Region official plan states in policy 3.1.20 that it requires at least 25% of all new residential units produced in the region to be affordable to low and moderate income households, increasing to 35% in strategic growth areas, while the property owner has only proposed 10%. Some of our concerns are that the communications regarding this development highlight a number of concerns, and we're sharing 5. Why would the town FAQ state existing rents in the Red Brick seem to be low, and then put a chart stating this? Red Brick residents have lived in their homes for decades, and this is not uncommon for any renter to be afforded rent protections in compliance with government standards. Not to speak of this on the FAQ shows bad faith. We don't appreciate it. Framing the buildings in which we live as reaching the end of their economic life and not offering modern comforts such as air conditioning, we also believe is in bad faith when residents' only interest is keeping a roof over our head. Last week, when Councillors Lisa Bauer and Joanne Dyes came to deliver letters about a meeting with the property owner for next week, both remarked how the buildings are so well taken care of and in great condition. We also thought that it was insulting that the owner's heritage impact statement suggests that the town has proactively planning to commemorate the Red Bricks history with some sort of plaque ceremony after the new buildings are built. 100 of us are facing eviction. If you feel that the Red Bricks is worthy of recognition, then it should be done so now by proclaiming it a heritage property before it's destroyed, and not later when people and buildings are gone. In the owner's heritage impact study, Town of Ajax senior planner Michael Sawchuk is quoted as saying, "There's no intention to designate this property under the Ontario Heritage Act, so no statement of significance of cultural heritage or interest is necessary." As early as November 2021, why is Ajax employee telling the building owner consultant that the Red Bricks were unworthy of a heritage designation so long ago? That same study also correctly reminds everyone that Ajax Council is responsible for all heritage-related approvals based on the recommendation of the Ajax Heritage Advisory Committee. But the town FAQ states that the applicant submitted heritage impact statement concludes that the property does not satisfy the minimum criteria to be designated under the OHA. Why has Ajax Council been kept from doing its required functions in favor of deferring to the owner's property heritage study? Lastly, as found on the Town of Ajax website regarding the Ontario Heritage Act, The Heritage Planning Resource page says that the property has not been designated under Part 4 of the Act may be included in the register if the property meets one or more of the following criteria for determining whether it is of cultural heritage value or interest. In the owner's heritage impact study on page 52, it states that based on these findings, the subject property has not met the minimum of 2 criteria required to be designated under the OHA. Town of Ajax official plan, part 2.6.2.1 general policies also indicate to minimally exhibit or contain one or more of the attributes that consultation with the Ajax Heritage Advisory Committee be done. If the town resources are saying it requires 1, why is the owner's heritage impact study saying it needs 2? In fact, the study also says that we met criteria number 4. Each of these 5 examples are making residents feel like this redevelopment project is being fast-tracked, and we would like to remind Ajax Council of their responsibility to serve the interests of their constituents and the municipality. We also have a few recommendations. It seems clear to us that provincial legislation and Ajax policies around heritage building has not been followed, and we would like the red bricks to be considered for heritage property status in Ajax. Accordingly, we ask that the council do the following effective immediately. Firstly, reject the owner's submitted heritage impact study as the final word on the red bricks being unworthy of a heritage designation. To pass this matter on to the Ajax Heritage Advisory Committee as soon as possible as per town bylaws so that it may be considered as it should be. They would then hear from Ajax residents and study the information for themselves. After this is done, they would issue a report as is normal process with a recommendation to Ajax Council to consider. Ajax Council would then publicly consider all of the information in the Ajax Heritage Advisory Committee report and then vote as to whether the red bricks is an Ajax heritage site or not. Such a process is in keeping with the town bylaws. The red brick buildings have not outlived their useful life. In fact, we believe they could provide Ajax families with affordable housing for decades to come. We look forward to council support to move this matter to the Ajax Heritage Advisory Committee for consideration for heritage status. It is our goal to stay in our homes and protect our vibrant and historical community and the buildings for many decades to come. Thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Hunting, thanks for your delegation. I'm going to address just a couple of your points and ask you a couple of questions because
Absolutely.
there's some information in here that's not completely accurate.
Sure.
And as this is a public meeting, I want to make sure people fully understand. First, I'll ask, I mean, I'm sure you are, it's been well publicized, but are you aware that council has absolutely no decision-making in this development at all?
They do have the
under
authority
the plan-
for sending it to the Heritage Advisory Committee, however.
Absolutely, and I'll get to that. But as far as the application, as far as the site plan, as far as the zoning, as far as the official plan designation, council has no authority or no say whatsoever in the development of the site. Is that, are you aware of that? Is
Yes,
that
we are
clear?
aware, yes.
Okay. I just want that to be very clear. And I don't want to come across as being non-empathetic, because I am. But I also want to be very clear and manage expectations for people so you understand exactly what we can and cannot do.
Yep.
Because this is a common sort of thing that people think council has some decision-making power that we don't. A lot of the decision-making power, especially in this case, through Bill 109, provincial legislation, removed our authority to look at this and delegated it to staff through site plan. So that is done. I can't speak to whether, but I'm pretty sure they have. The Heritage Advisory Committee has already looked at this and passed on it being, or requesting it be a heritage site. Mr. Romanowski, is Mr. Sawchuk here? Can anybody speak to that, whether this has been looked at by the advisory committee?
Mr. Sawchuk isn't here, but, and we can follow up to see whether or not it's gone before. I believe you have a council member that sits on the Heritage Advisory Committee that might be able to speak to that. But this property is on our non-designated registry.
Right.
We would not have got the the Community Heritage Evaluation Report without it being on that non-heritage registry. And that's kind of the trigger that got us to be able to get that evaluation, which has been an important document through this process to date.
Right, and I've been around long enough to see several iterations of that sort of wish list or the other, which council on 3 occasions has not supported and has never been put on there, just to be clear. So we'll find out whether absolutely or not the Heritage Advisory Committee has looked at this. However, I'm pretty certain they have, and it just didn't meet the requirements. I understood it would met 1 of 5, I believe, but don't quote me on that. I do believe that even if they did look at it today, since application has already been made and this is already in site plan, this can't be retroactive, my understanding. I don't know if, Mr. Romanowski, you can confirm that for me or not?
Through the chair to the mayor, no, it cannot be retroactive. As you mentioned, the official plan and the zoning bylaw are in place. Site plan approval's been delegated to staff, even well before the legislative changes that have recently come forward. So this is a site plan approval process. These lands have been designated in our official plan for redevelopment for over 20 years, maybe longer. At least that's how long I've been here with the town, and these properties have been identified through that, as well as a priority site for redevelopment through our past community improvement plan. So that's been well documented as well through our policies.
Okay. And I'm supposed to be asking questions, but I'm giving myself a little bit of latitude here because I'm trying to answer your questions.
Absolutely.
On some of these. So just to your recommendations, the recommendations are for the most part outside of what council can do. I want to talk to you a little bit about what I have done and what Councillor Bauer and Councillor Dice have done, which is having discussions and meeting with the developer, and there will be a public meeting coming forward for the residents. This is not going to be open to everybody. This is going to be for the 30-odd families that are affected in the building that is currently being considered right now for redevelopment, to have sort of a one-on-one question answer. I don't know when, Councillor Bauer, do you know when this is going to take place? May the 1st. Okay, so that will be coming up. Some of the things I've done and some of the conversations I've had and we've had at a meeting 2 weeks ago. Number one, I suggested that as units, and there's not a lot of turnover in these buildings, this can probably be understood. People that are
correct, yeah.
there stay there for the reasons that you outlined, mostly. But as units do come available, I understand that those are going to be offered to the 30-odd families that are affected. So there'll be an opportunity for a few to hopefully be rehoused within the existing complex. That is my hope. I also talked to them about, does this particular owner, who absolutely has the right to redevelop their property, like that, let's be honest here, do they have any other properties not too far away or in the area where they could maybe offer space? And the answer was yes, they do have some in Toronto, and they're looking into this to see if there's anybody that would be interested in relocating to another of the properties. And I did stress that the rents be, reasonable. I can't fix it, but I did make that request. And third was, and this is not going to help you, but I see down the road over the next decade or so, the rest of those buildings being redeveloped similarly as market requires. Maintain space in the new building once it is built. Well, first of all, offer for anybody that wants to go back to come back to the new building. And finally, when they redevelop the other buildings, make sure they keep space in the new building to accommodate those people so they're not displaced. So that was the conversation that that we had, and that some of the recommendation requests that we made. Now understand, those are just requests. We can't force them to do anything. They absolutely have the right to redevelop this property. But I just want to let you know that we are sympathetic, we are trying to work on it, we are going to have the public meeting, and I don't know what's going to come out of that, but we're doing everything we can to try and accommodate. The other part of this is, I do not expect to see shovels in the ground for probably, I think, 2 years is a reasonable probably time frame, which gives some time for people to be able to look, for the developer to try and find other spaces and accommodate as much as possible. It's not the answer you're looking for, but I'm just trying to tell you what we can do. And I'm not going to ask any questions because, I mean, does that answer some of your questions?
It answers a few, yes, and we certainly will have questions for the owners when we do meet with them next week.
Absolutely. And I want you and all the people here to understand, we are listening. If there was other things we could do, we would do them. We're doing what we can, and we are going to work with you as much as within our means. So that's about all I can say.
Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Councillor Bauer, I see your name in the list. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mayor Collier. Thank you for coming today, for everybody to come, and we certainly, the mayor is correct, we are listening and we are trying to negotiate or have discussions with all the people involved. But I did want to take a question, perhaps to Director Romanowski. There's some comments on the presentation sheet about the heritage impact study, or the heritage study that was performed, and certain number of criteria that has to be checked in order for designation to be considered. And can you just explain, like, who does these reports? What's the process for how they end up being presented as part of a planning application? And how are they addressed here by our staff when we get them? Please.
Through the chair to Councillor Bauer, I don't have the list of criteria
No.
in front of me, but
Yes.
these community heritage evaluation reports, or shares as we call them, are prepared by professionals with accreditations and professional background in heritage types of activities, buildings, etc. We use those documents to help us understand the value from a heritage perspective, whether it's true heritage value or contextual heritage value. Like I said, I don't have the criteria in front of me, but these reports help inform our heritage planner. Mr. Sawchuk's name was brought up by Mr. Hunting during his presentation, and we use that information to help guide us. And as I mentioned when the mayor was speaking, because it's on our non-designated registry, or this wish list of maybe potential heritage properties, it hasn't met that criteria. And we wouldn't have got that report without it being on that. So that is one benefit of having this list, which otherwise would have meant the town would have had to pay for that evaluation. So this allows us to get that information through the site plan process to help us understand the heritage value. And as mentioned, it didn't meet one or two of the criteria, but it didn't meet the threshold for consideration.
Okay, thank you. So when a developer is required to present these types of reports, it is up to them to hire the consultant, and then that consultant who is accredited brings it to the town. It's reviewed by our senior planner in charge of heritage. And if they're, like, I guess my question is, it's reviewed or peer reviewed, so that if it's just the one requirement that's met, let's say the town receives the report and says, well, I don't agree with that, or what is that process? What does it look like?
Through the chair to Councillor Bauer, I'm sure there'd be back and forth between our heritage planner and the consultant, but typically these reports, as they're prepared by professionals that are accredited
Yes.
in this field, more often than not, the information's accepted as professional information. We review it against the same criteria that they would have reviewed it against through the legislation. Typically, questions are around, like, did you cover this aspect off? Can you elaborate more on this? That type of thing. It wouldn't be redo the work or this isn't acceptable. It would be more iterative process between two professionals that are within, professionals within that area of this particular
Sure.
field of planning.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. This is questions to delegation. Councillor Dice.
If it's okay, Mayor, I do have a question of staff regarding the heritage designation, because I just want to clarify something.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it not the province's responsibility for designation, for setting the rules around designation throughout the province of Ontario?
Through the chair to Councillor Dice, they're part of that discussion, definitely. The legislation set at the provincial level through Ontario Reg 906 and the Ontario Heritage Act. So that's where it starts. It comes down to local municipalities or other municipalities, whether it's through their heritage advisory committees, heritage planners, et cetera. No decisions would be made on that unless it came back through this council for further designation of those properties. But this isn't one of those properties that would meet that criteria. So that's where we are at today with this.
So they set that criteria then?
100%.
So that's across the board though for everybody?
Yeah, it's across the board provincially, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Henry?
Thank you. Chair, my question goes to Director Romanowski. And I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyways because I'm looking for a Hail Mary here. Is understanding that the provincial government sets the standards for the heritage properties, is there anything the federal government can do to intervene on this?
Through the chair to Councillor Henry, I wouldn't know. I don't know at this point. I'd have to consult with our heritage planner to see. However, this is more, I would think more of a provincial matter because it's the Ontario Heritage Act that we're dealing with. So I would not think that would be federally unless there's another layer above, which obviously there is, but I don't know what connections they have with each other. But I could follow back up with you on that.
Okay. Well, not with me, with the councillors of the area, but thank you. And to the presenter, I'd just like to say, please know that your councillors are working very diligently with the mayor to try to help as best possible and know that we are not in the business of dehousing people. That is not what we took this job to do. And we are here to help where we can. We just, unfortunately, as the mayor said, this has not come before us, and we don't have a place to intervene here.
Thank you very much. We appreciate any support you can give.
Okay, seeing no further speakers in the speakers list, thank you, Mr. Hunter, for your delegation.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next item, now done delegations, moving on to presentations. Ontario Agricultural Advisory Committee, the DAC Committee Outreach Presentation to Council. We have Mr. Neil Guthrie, Durham Agriculture Advisory Committee member, and Zach Cahoon, Durham Agricultural Advisory Committee member. While we're waiting, Mr. Cahoon, if you just want to get situated and set up, we'll be good to go. Okay, folks, please move your conversations outside. The meeting is still going on. Mr. Guthrie, Mr. Cahoon, whenever you're ready, please go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Zach Cahoon. My esteemed colleague Neil Guthrie, who I'm sure all of you know as being a resident of the Ajax town, or city, I guess it is. Is it the town? Oh, it seems like a city to me. I come from north of the Ridges, so try not to get down here that often. So I'm the chair of the Durham Agriculture Advisory Council, and we're a group of farmers that are here to offer you advice and common sense on issues regarding to agriculture. And agriculture is something that everybody here has to deal with at least 3 times a day. So we talk to things about, things that affect you with agriculture, and we try to help you make proper decisions with regards to making our business easier and making your business easier. Right now, we're working on the North Durham On-Farm Diversified Uses Project. So on-farm diversified uses is a job that we do where we take a part of the farm and do something new with it. So a food stand, a tourist operation, a business that does something like making work or doing mechanical work, it adds extra income to the farm, and it's good for succession of the agriculture, and it's good for business for the whole community. We also talked to the UOIT about skilled trades. Agricultural business is huge in need of skilled trades and skilled people. So we're trying to work at getting that into our curriculums, into our high schools. I'm sure some of you went to the Farm Connections open house and see what we're doing with the grade 3 program, introducing to agricultural processes and people and things we do. And so what's really interesting is we started that program 18 years ago, so some of those people actually are probably having children now. And that's fantastic. Hopefully we have made a little bit of a difference. We are also looking at farm worker accommodation. So what we're talking about is offshore workers or people that come to this country to do work on farms. It's big business in Durham Region. There's lots of market gardens. We want to be food resilient, be able to produce food in our community. These people help. They do the labor in field where we can't get labor from anybody else to do it. And they do a great job, and we house them, and we need policies that facilitate making this happen. Okay, we're talking about building permits, fire policies, and we need a consistent group across the region. Actually, I would like to see it across the province, but let's do one step at a time, looking across the region so that we can make this stuff useful and make it available to our agricultural professionals so that we can produce the food that you people want. The other things we look at or talk about, the Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority. So we have a new grain terminal at the Port of Oshawa. It's just down the lake. It is a fantastic thing. We're being able to ship our grain from our farms all around the world from a place right here and saving all the transportation to Hamilton. Almost 90% of our agricultural products get put on a truck and either go to Hamilton or go to Quebec City. And being able to load that stuff in Oshawa is great for our community. The next process in that is we're going to be able to unload fertilizer and other products that we can use on our farms and taking road miles off the highways. And it's good stuff, and it actually creates jobs in the neighborhood. We did talk about independent electricity systems and operations of battery storage site selection. We asked you people not to put them on prime farmland. If you want to put a battery situation up, that's fantastic. Please don't put them on our prime farmland. We need that for growing crops. Regional issues and economic development initiatives, the Agri-Food Gateway Program and agricultural tours for municipal planners. We try to do a whole bunch of education things. I'm sure some of you have been to our DAC farm tour, where we talk to you about agriculture issues and we try to help everybody understand our issues and what we do with them. This year we are going to Kubota, which is just up the road. They are very excited to have us. It's 50 years Kubota has been in Canada, and they are a great asset to the community, not only in the agricultural world, but in the landscaping and management of all the infrastructure. We talk about land use issues and planning problems or planning issues, I guess you people have or we have with, we just try to add some common sense. We have lots of east-west transportation and planning in the Durham region. We need some north-south transportation corridors that are a little bit better to hold the transportation. A lot of commodities are made in the northern part of the region. They need to come south, hit the 401, hit the port, and we need some help making these transportation and making it work better for the whole community. I could talk probably for an hour about agriculture issues and the passion we have for agriculture, but I'm going to cut it off right there, and I'll try and answer some of your questions.
Thank you. Questions? First on the speakers list, Councillor Henry.
Thank you for coming here today. Always good to see you. We always learn something new when you come. A lot of farmland in Ward 2. So when you're mentioning batteries, and you're mentioning don't put them on farmland,
Yeah.
could you just elaborate that a little
So
bit?
I guess there's been a couple of applications in the northern part of the region for site-specific batteries. So they want to put basically an electrical storage box on a piece of farmland. It supposedly will hold the grid for an hour. Last week, or I guess, was it last, or 2 weeks ago, we lost power for 14 days in northern Durham region.
Yes.
Yeah, that hour would have probably been nice, but it isn't going to do a lot for us. So these are kind of like a solar type farm. I think that solar energy is a fantastic thing, but please don't put it on Class 1 farmland where we can do a lot better things with that land instead of have a solar panel there. There's lots of land in Ontario that is not suitable for agricultural production. Same with a battery storage site. There's lots of land that is better suited than Prime 1 agricultural land.
Thank you. Understood and heard. We will note that. I have a question, if I can, with regards to water, not stormwater, water. So I have been told that the farmland along Taunton, along Taunton, there has, and some along Roslyn, there has been some farmers that are no longer farming on these lands, like the O'Connors, for instance, because of water dry up, more drought. So the natural, they're not on sewage, they're not on sewer systems, they're not getting town water, municipal water, and the water's not coming to the property as easy as it used to because of construction north, like the 407 and such. Have you heard anything like that?
Have you, Neil?
Yeah, they de-watered for the 412.
Sorry, could you just speak into the mic so we could hear at
They
home as well?
de-watered for the 412. The wells never come back up.
Ah,
You watered 200 plus head of Holsteins, you need a lot of water. They did bring in trucked water, but the livestock would not drink chlorinated water.
they're smart.
Yeah, so they were mixing it, they're using the chlorinated water mostly for the wash, but as far as the actual watering the cows to keep going, they refuse to drink it. Because I've seen this happen at local fairs that are on town water. The shower's got to bring a filter to filter the water before their livestock will drink it.
Because they're not used to it and they know
Yeah,
there's something in
yeah.
it. They know it's not for them.
It's like us people in the country that have well water, go to
Yes.
the city, it's a whole different taste.
Yes. So that has changed the use of some farmland
Yes.
in the air, in Ward 2 in North Ajax.
Yes.
Because of this.
Yes,
Because it would be very expensive. Well, first of all, it'd be expensive to bring in chlorinated water by the truck.
yeah,
And secondly, the animals won't drink it.
drink it, yes.
And then thirdly, then you have to get a filter system to make it so that they will drink it, and there's no guarantee they will. Correct?
Yeah, and the one farmer, hopefully they could have got it at Salem. No, he had to go to Conlon Road in Oshawa to get, or Whitby, because they have the meteor system there. That's the only place to get water. Well, you bring 2 truckloads a day in, or close to 2 trucks, that's a lot of trips a week.
And that's increasing the price of the overall product
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
end. So it's changed completely what can be done with that
Yeah.
land.
And then I understand the retention ponds to the subdivision to the west of Audley Road are digging deeper, so that's lowering the water table as well, I believe.
Well, you know what? You come here once a year, twice a year, and we learn a lot from you. So thank you for being here,
Sorry
as
about my
always.
phone going off. I got a new phone, I don't know how to shut it off.
That's okay.
Because my
That's
old
okay.
phone sat in a snowbank for four
It's
4
happened to
weeks
all of
before
us
I
up
found
here,
it.
so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Councilor Tyler Moore?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Mr. Guthrie and Mr. Cahoon. You guys are the real deal. Always nice to have you around, and we all learn. Mr. Cahoon, you mentioned losing power for 14 days, devastating. Do you have a backup generator? Do a lot of the farms have backup generators to a limit, I guess?
Yeah, most farms do have a backup generator. Actually, we run 4 on our farm for different facilities. We used to have chicken barns. Those chicken barns cannot be without power.
Got it.
So we have automatic start backup generators. Most farms, all dairy farms will have a backup generator type system.
Right.
Maybe not as elaborate as a pig farm or a chicken barn, because they have a little bit of time to get things set up. But yes, most farmers will have some type of power generation
Okay,
system.
thank you for that. My next question appears on page 5 of the report, and it mentions backyard chickens and avian influenza. So is backyard chickens meaning like residents' backyard chickens?
So we've been dealing with this backyard chicken issue at DAC for a long time. And I guess what it's talking about is people having 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or a small flock of chickens in their backyard for production of eggs. And farmers, we don't have a real problem with you having chickens, but we do have a problem with the transmission of avian influenza. And it doesn't matter if it's a chicken or a goose or some other flying beast, they all carry it. It is in the area. What the problem is it is just another transmission vector.
Okay.
And we don't want that. If you lose white feather farms, and that's what will happen if they get influenza, the whole production system, all 70,000 birds that are up there laying eggs every day, will be killed and incinerated.
Didn't know that, because
Okay.
because at the local level, we talked about backyard chickens. And I was going to ask staff through you, Mr.
This is questions to delegations.
sorry.
We're not talking about backyard chickens.
Yeah.
Move on.
Okay.
We're not going to,
It just
so
was
it's
ruled
just,
out.
it's just a bad deal.
Okay, it was,
So,
it was,
and I'm not against people having backyard chickens. If you live in the country, my mom has 30 chickens in her old chicken barn. It's fine.
just,
But it's a problem if everybody has a few in
I
their
thought we
backyard.
weren't allowed to do that in the town. Perfect, thank you. And my last question is, does the 412 and 418 help with the north-south passage?
It does, yes. The problem is getting to it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? So then we get to it, get down. So I live in Port Perry. All right? I'm driving down Simcoe Street. Why am I going to go 7 miles north or 7 miles south to get to that highway to get farther down to the port where I just basically have to grin and
Got
bear
it.
it and
Yeah.
take Ritson or whatever it is.
Know the area well.
All the
Thank
way
you.
down.
Thank you.
Wait till the gondola comes down, Simcoe. Councilor Crawford.
Thank you, Your Worship. Can you tell me what your thoughts are? We have the Barrett Center has like a farming area around urban farming around J. Clark Richardson to help educate some of the high school students, some of the college students. What's your thoughts on that project?
I think it's a great, fantastic thing that we're doing is we're going to teach people where their food come from a little bit. Also teach some of these. So here's my big thing on it. Most of this generation is one generation removed from an agricultural background. And we at DAC and at Durham Region Federation and all kinds of agricultural community groups are trying to get that step put back into it so that these people understand what happens in the community, what happens with agriculture, what the economic impact of agriculture is on them, and how it affects them socially and environmentally and mentally throughout the day. We are looking at urban agriculture as the next step for isolated small markets. And I think it's a great thing. We are taking a small piece of land and making production. Fantastic idea. Let's teach them. Let's make it work.
And And I would think then from that point, you would be in favor of a lot more community gardens for that very reason, or
So,
no?
yeah, for sure. Community gardens are a good thing as long as, and it's all about community
Right.
and getting along and people and working together. And I think those are all fantastic things for a community.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. This one's a very quick one. It wasn't in the presentation, or it was roughly. Can you break down by percentage what we grow in Durham Region? Is it like primarily grain, like 68%? And then
Oh,
like,
I can give you, I can't give you exact numbers right here.
You can
without-
approximate.
But, so Durham Region has been in a process of changing evolution. We are extremely large in animals and growing hogs and chicken barns and dairy cattle and beef, okay? That has progressed to more of a cash crop, so we're growing more grains and oil seeds, so corn, wheat, soybeans, and oats. That is all market variability and being able to process our goods. The region of Durham is lacking in processing facilities for meat. So we don't grow as much animals for meat here. The dairy farms are getting larger, but there is less of them. We are still producing milk. There is still milk and cream producing facilities in the neighborhood and in the region. Bob Cajun, I know it's not in the region of Durham, big facility, and in Toronto, still our largest market for the commodities we produce. We don't have any pig farmers left in Durham region as of last year. That is because there is no place to process the pork. The last guys that were raising hogs in this region were sending them to Ohio to get processed. And then that meat was coming back here and packaged for us here in Ontario. There is processing plants in Quebec, but there is a lot, obviously, the transportation issue. And so that's what we're doing now. We need smaller abattoirs, yes. And a lot of that is due to, we don't have smaller abattoirs in the neighborhood because of governmental bureaucratic red tape dealing with federal, provincial rules. And we can't get anybody to make the economic commitment.
how are you affected by the tariffs? So I know the U.S. farmers are relying on Canadian potash, and that's a kind of a key thing. Are the tariffs
So,
impacting?
yes, they are relying on Canadian potash, but they bought all their potash last fall and they don't need any until next fall.
Sure.
So it's
But how
not
are
really
abs-
it's not going to be a big deal for them till next October, November, December.
Right.
Okay? The thing that's affecting us right now with tariffs is that we take ore from the United States and we bring it into Canada where they smelt it. And none of those boats are coming here right now with those raw materials. So the grain that we ship south has a surcharge now because we have to hire boats to come here specifically to load that grain, and the transportation cost has gone up 40%
Okay.
because of that. And it's not a tariff. It's not a tariffed object. It's because one of the tariffed objects is offsetting it. That is a trade war that we're going to be in, and it is going to cost all of us dearly. Not just farmers, but all of you, all of us.
Okay. Thank you for sharing those experiences. It's important for people to know. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Councillor Henry.
Thank you. Just to touch base on the slaughterhouses, right,
Yep.
terminology. I grew up near one, Jane St. Clair back in the day, Canada Packers.
Yep.
So why are we not having slaughterhouses in Canada?
That's a great question.
Because you're telling me that we're sending our meat to the U.S.
Yep.
to get slaughtered to come back
Do
to
you
Canada.
know that Better Beef in Guelph takes 10 loads a day of American cattle and only fills their line with Canadian cattle when they need it?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, with tariffs coming into effect and dealing with who we're dealing with in the South, a quick solution for Canadian households and to lower grocery prices would be to have slaughterhouses in Canada?
It would be we have slaughterhouses in Canada, but not here in this neighborhood. There is a few still in Toronto. St. Helens Meats still runs in Toronto.
Yes.
Riding Regency is still running. Canada Packers, I'm sorry, is not, I don't think it's
No,
running.
there's a Walmart there now.
They're not running
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
I remember going there as a kid, but
Yeah.
not,
I grew up near there.
yeah.
Yeah.
There is for sure an issue that we don't have the ability to produce commodities that are ready-made for people to eat, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a problem.
So hopefully, you know, the higher
Yeah.
ups are hearing that because we have to, obviously, there's some
There's-
regulations that are
So there's
stopping
even a
this.
problem for us as, even for making like freezer beef or stuff like that. It's hard to find an abattoir to get that done now. Especially for pork, any kind of pork, I think we have to go almost all the way to Coburg to find an abattoir that'll kill a pig and slaughter a pig right
Okay.
now.
So we'll have further questions offline, you and I, okay?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
All right, seeing nobody else on the speakers list, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you
and
very much for your
everything that
time.
you do.
And DAC is here to help.
Thank you. Moving on to our public meeting, Regional Official Plan Amendment Application, ROPA 25, Ajax 1, Official Plan Amendment Application, OPA 25A1, Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application, Z 325, 400 and 430 Salem Road North. And I'm not sure if there's a presentation. I will just open, since this is a mayor's directive. I have actually had the opportunity to sit down with every member of council and go through this, although it was probably about 6 weeks ago in my office on the northwest corner of Kerrison and Salem. So I have gone through the concept plan that was provided, and I'll turn it over to are you the planner? Mr. Testigusi, please go ahead when you're ready.
There we go. Thank you very much. My name is Michael Testigusa from the Big Lieri Group, here representing the owners of 400 to 430 Salem Road at the northwest corner of Salem and Kerrison. I believe the presentation is on the screen, correct? I'm only seeing myself, but there we go. Perfect. I do like looking at myself, but I like this presentation better. Okay, so as mentioned, the site is at the northwest corner of Salem and Kerrison. It's currently vacant, but it does currently have site plan approval for a gas station, convenience store, restaurant at the moment. It is situated in a very interesting neighborhood, and I'm sure council's aware. There are industrial and employment uses to the north and the east, and to some degree to the south and west as well. But there's also the Uptown Center, which is the commercial lands currently at the intersection of Salem and Kingston Road, which are planned in the long term for mixed-use development. And there is also the lands at the southeast corner of Salem and Kerrison, which are also planned for mixed-use development and are currently going through the application process. So this site is really at an area that's going to be changing in the next couple of years in many different ways. And knowing that, and through conversations, there's been discussion about the idea of providing for more intensification on these lands and providing for more jobs and a different type and more intense type of built form. Through those conversations, we've made applications on behalf of the client to produce a 36-story apartment, mixed-use apartment building on this site, which would include 462 units. Through discussions with staff, through submission of the application and discussion with the mayor as well, changes have been made with respect to the amount of commercial in the project. We're now proposing 2,700 meters squared of commercial. That will produce, that's about 3.5 times the amount of commercial GFA that was proposed with that gas station. Should produce, again, 3.5 times as many jobs, if not more. Of course, the gas station GFA did include a car wash, which doesn't employ many people in the car wash itself. So probably more than that, but it's just anecdotal. It should, based on the Ajax DC background study factors and ratios, employ anywhere between 70 to 85 people in that 2,700 meters squared of commercial floor area. And again, in discussion and through evolution of the project, We're also committed to providing 5 to 10% affordable housing. The range there just depends on whether it's a market condo or whether it's market rental. And if it's market rental using the CMHC programming, then it would be at 10%, whereas if it's market condo, it would be 5%, which is fairly standard. Now, talking a little bit about how this will look and feel on the ground, there's a couple of things I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. This project has been designed understanding its local context. And so here in blue, you see the commercial uses, which are facing out towards Salem and Kerrison. Not just straight facades, but some articulation along there to make it an interesting facade as you're moving through and along in this area. Also providing for an urban square right at the corner where the tower comes down, 120 meters squared, something else that was secured with staff as we kind of moved through the process on this. But importantly, and I think importantly, of course, this is going to be a future mixed-use area to the south, and there's going to be a lot of foot traffic, and that's great. But we also do want to be able to support these future businesses with the ability for people to drive to them as well. So we've located at-grade parking at the rear of this development, which you could see here at grade, which does provide that convenience for users of the future kind of commercial spaces. So thinking through how this is going to work for multiple different types of users as we kind of move forward in this development. But of course, putting it at the back of the site so that those cars aren't prominent on the streetscape. The last thing I want to leave everybody with, these are just a couple of shots of how this building will look. So you can kind of see that interesting grade treatment with the commercial to kind of try to make these commercial units stand out and be separate from the rest of the residential above. But also using kind of standard, both Ajax town standards as well as industry best practices in terms of, 800-meter square tower floor plates, 3-meter building setbacks, 3-meter building step backs off of that, all provided for in this. So I'm really here to just answer any questions council may have from there, but I just wanted to provide a very quick overview of what we're looking at here.
Thank you, Mr. Testaguza. Before I open it up, I just want to add a couple of things. This is before us, council, because I have actually approached the landowner about this property. As Mr. Testaguza pointed out correctly, this was for a car wash and gas station. I think, I don't know, in my opinion, not the highest and best use for these lands. These are also lands that are surrounded by, we recently approved through the regional official plan, now the new regional official plan, conversion on the opposite side of the street to allow high density, basically extending the uptown central zoning from Ringer to Kerrison on the east side. To me, not that there's anything wrong with gas stations, but I see it as a bit of a dying breed, kind of like big box retail and newspapers, in that, somebody with 3 electric cars in my family, 4 if you include my daughter who doesn't live with us, sort of the trend. And not sort of the employment that I wanted to see on those lands, 10 or so people working in that one area. This gives us an opportunity, and I thankfully that the owner was willing to look at this and was thinking a similar thing, that, this isn't really, we look just up from this and we've got 2 car washes and a self-storage facility, which I'd be surprised if there's 10 people employed in all 3 of those put together. Best use of land. In this case, with this that's come back, 2.5 times the employment. The
3.5.
3.5, sorry, the affordability component, as well as, I think, exponentially growing the planning fees, the development charges, and the future property taxes coming from this. So I just wanted to point that out, that is here and under Mayor's directive, because I did reach out and sort of push the owner/developer to sort of look at a higher best use. I'd like to open up for questions. Councillor Henry, you're first in the speakers list.
Thank you. So I'm not only the ward councillor for this area, but this is also basically in my backyard. I like that.
Councillor Henry, just before we do, I'm going to bring forward the bylaw
Yes.
at the same time, so you can ask questions on the bylaw at the same time. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bauer, that bylaws 34/2025 to 36/2025 be read it first, second, third time and passed, which is the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment as printed.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, as I was saying, it's in my backyard. I like that the property, there's no other housing around it, nothing to interfere with there. That's great, because when you go into a developed housing area, there's always a problem. No issue there with that. I like that it's not going to be, as the mayor pointed out, another gas bar. We have 2 at Harwood and Roslyn, and we have the Costco at Highway 2 and Salem. That's 3 gas stations within a very small area, and if folks can't find gas there, we've got a problem. We don't need another gas station. I like the development, I like the way it looks. You mentioned about affordable housing, 10% if it's apartment, 5% condo space, correct?
That's correct.
At what stage will we know that?
So tenure is not typically decided through the planning process. I think after this council approval, the client's going to have to make a decision. And of course, I'm not the client, I'm just a planning consultant, but needs to start to put together those financial models to determine what's more viable at this time. Certainly, many of the projects I'm working on right now are going forward as rental, but I would think that that is probably the next decision that needs to be made as we move into the site plan process concurrently.
I personally, not that you care, would like to see rental. Just throwing that out there. It's within a walkability to all major shopping centers. It's on a major transit area, so folks can get, less vehicles, can walk to transit. It's meeting all the check marks for me as the counselor for the area. So I'm very happy to support this. I'm glad the mayor went to the property owner and had these discussions. Because, again, don't want to see another gas station in the area. Thank you.
Councillor Lee.
Thank you. It's good to see you again. My question is regarding parking, and I know this is within the site plan, but I saw counted 27, 28 spots. Am I incorrect in the back there?
That would be at grade only.
At grade only, but still at 27, 28, but then there are, you said 75 to 80 jobs available at grade, or is that the whole building?
So when I talk about 70 to 85 jobs potentially being on site, there's both commercial at grade and in the second floor in the podium. And all the parking you're seeing at grade there would presumably not be for employees, would be for convenience for people visiting those businesses. But there will also be 3 probably levels of below grade parking required here, where you would like to see, space set aside for those employees as well. So there is a ratio in the bylaw actually with respect to required amount of parking, which is at 0.75 per unit and 0.15 visitor commercial combined.
And then, assuming this is approved today, and I ask this to every development we get the mayor's directive on, how soon can we get shovels in the ground? Because it seems like this council is approving a lot of development, but we're really not seeing progress on this. Now, the Bigley Area Group has, you've been in this business for a while. You do have, the infrastructure to do this. How soon do we think we can start building?
No, absolutely fair enough. So the first thing that has to happen after this is actually, the site plan process. So we can't get shovels in the ground until we get through site plan. I'm saying site plan usually taking 9 to 12 months, probably at a minimum. And from that point on, I think it really does depend on the client and whether they want to do condominium or rental tenure, because I think the financing for that is significantly different. If you're doing a rental project, you're securing your funding through the CMHC, it really depends on how quickly you can negotiate that process. And again, that is really on the client end more than on my end. But then on the condo side, you obviously need to meet your thresholds from a sales perspective.
Right.
Following site plan approvals, in my experience, starts can vary between immediately after site plan approval to I've seen as much as a couple years later.
Okay. It's just good to know. Again, I want to manage expectations from residents who are also, possibly waiting for a unit like this. But again, no, I appreciate the efforts made to kind of make this make sense to modernize Ajax. I agree, gas stations are not what we need. At the grade level, will there be any electric parking spots, electric vehicle charging stations?
So that's certainly something we would work through the site plan process. I do expect there will be some. It's becoming very much an industry standard and a requirement in order to kind of move these projects along. It's becoming, frankly, an expectation on the consumer's end of things.
Okay. I mean, that, to the mayor, that should be, we should start including that in our agreements is electric parking because, we're going to hit those targets. Thank you very much. Again, thank you to your organization for doing this. Thank you, Chair.
I will just point out, any new buildings that I've been in, I have seen them. Case in point, the new 15-story, what's it called? Park something, the new senior park lawn, actually charged in there when I went for their opening and their visit. So I am seeing it in new buildings. It does seem to be standard. Councillor Tyler Moore.
Okay, at the risk, thank you, Your Worship, at the risk of being rhetorical, I agree with my, sorry? For dramatic effect, right. So my colleague, Regional Councillor Lee, kind of touched on this, but just so I'm clear, so you represent the builder and the owner of the land is another party?
Sorry, no, we're a planning firm, so we're just professional land use planning consultants. We represent the owner who would also presumably be the builder in this instance. Yes.
Because the goal here is that we're going to change possibly, depending on the zoning of that land, which is, it's a very good thing for the owner, proponent, et cetera. So you're saying that there's an appetite to bring this building to fruition, to put cranes in the air and start building this. I just wanted you to say that for the record.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So in the actual implementing documents, there's actually a 1-year timeline for submission of the site plan to make sure that this is moving forward. So I have spoken with my client several times about that, and we are definitely going to be mobilizing to make that next application immediately following this.
Right, because the design, the look, where it's located as per other residents, the employment numbers, it's great. Just, would really like to see this come to fruition. Thank you for the time, Mr. Mayor.
I always make sure that expectation is abundantly clear. We expect this built. Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Mayor Collier. Thank you for coming today. I appreciate the presentation. Just a question about the affordability requirement. I don't know if you have the answer. Is that with an expiry of 10 years, 20 years, or do you know that?
I don't believe I would know the answer to that off the top of my head, although I do know that there are holds in the actual zoning bylaw that require us to enter into an agreement in that nature. So I think I'll be finding out those specific details, although frankly, that's less of a planning matter and more of a finance, on my client's side of things, but they likely do understand those terms at this point. I just, from a planning perspective, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Collier, maybe do you know?
I do know.
Thank you.
Yes, we have an affordability agreement that we require the developer to sign, which outlines all those different requirements. I don't know exactly what the years is that it says, but it's, maybe Mr. Romanowski, do you have that information? Are you frantically looking for it?
I'm just, I'm not frantically, I'm just reading very long wording in a table, but it looks like that, through the chair to Councillor Bauer, looks like the holding provisions asking for the owner entering an agreement with the town for the provision of affordable housing. The agreement shall stipulate that a minimum of 10% of the total dwelling units shall be affordable units as defined by the province. If financing for such is obtained from the CMHC for the proposed development, if financing is not obtained from CMHC, a minimum of 5% of the total dwelling units shall be affordable as again defined by the province, and the dwelling unit shall be affordable for a minimum of a 25-year period. Yes.
And
I believe I'm reading the correct, yes, section.
And this is something that we are kind of having to make up as we go along, because this is a new process, and we've only had that agreement signed once, which is at 310 Kingston Road, because that's the first one that it applied to, but this is something we've developed on an ongoing basis, kind of like the deferral agreement for DCs, those types of things.
So 25 and arbitrary.
That's the number we picked, and we're asking them to sign. I think that's a reasonable number. Anything further? Oh, Councillor Dice, sorry, I didn't see you.
With the requirements for affordable housing, are we keeping track of the numbers that are agreed upon or accepted by upper levels of government to fund? So we know how many are available 20 years down the road, 10, 15, whatever?
Through the chair to Councillor, I'm sure we're going to keep track. None have been built as of yet, but we'll be keeping track through these agreements.
Great, thank you.
Okay, seeing nothing further, there's no other questions. We have the bylaw is on the floor. Can we open the vote, please? Thank you, and bylaws 34 and 36-2025 pass unanimously. That concludes delegations, presentations, and public meetings. We have no items of correspondence. We have reports under item 7.1, Community Affairs and Planning Committee. To the Community Affairs and Planning Committee, moved by Councillor Lee, second by Councillor Tyler Moore, and that the Community Affairs and Planning Committee report dated April 7th, 2025 be adopted. Questions, comments? Okay, please open the vote. That carries. Now, just 1 second, because there was a report to the clerk. Can you help me out here? Because we have to add back in the EV charging.
To you, Mr. Chair, that item has been added as 7.3.2, so you
got
can
it.
move forward with 7.2.
I see it, okay. So on 7.2.1, General Government Committee, April 14, 2025, moved by Councillor Dies, second by Councillor Bauer, that the GDC report dated April 14, 2025 be adopted, and that does not include item 7.3.2, the PSA 2025-3, which is the electrical vehicle charging stations that we had deferred to this meeting. Questions or comments on the GGC other than that item? Okay, open the vote. That carries. We have the strategic plan update. Ms. Brownridge, is there a presentation on this or just the report?
To the mayor, no, it's just a report today.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Crawford, second by Councillor Bauer, that the 2022 to 2026 Strat Plan Action 26 update be received for information. Questions? Hearing, seeing none. Time to vote. That carries. Now, item 7.3.2, PSE 2025-3, electric vehicle charging stations, unbudgeted capital project, referred from the April 14th GGC. I have moved by Councillor Lee. Do I have a seconder? No seconder. That matter loses on lack of a seconder. Moving on to regional council reports. Are there any regional council reports? No regional council reports. Let me think if I can think of something we can receive. We got nothing. Moved by Councillor Crawford, second by Councillor Dies, that regional council reports of April 22nd be received for information. Those in favor? That is carried. On to business arising from notice of motion. We've dealt with 9.1, we dealt with 9.2, 9.3, sponsorship and advertising asset inventory and valuation report. Councillor Lee. Sorry, there you go. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. This motion comes from as far back as 2018, 2019, when the first iteration of this council was elected, and we had passed a naming rights bylaw. And Up till now, we haven't really taken advantage of it, and I'm beginning to think I understand why. First things first, I don't think we know what we have yet in terms of all our assets. So yes, we know there's an asset value. We go through that exercise, but we don't know the asset marketing value. And I don't just mean our community centers and our buildings, but rather everything that is Town of Ajax purchased, from vehicles to shovels. There is a marketing value to that, and there is a naming rights opportunity and sponsorship opportunity for that. So I think what we need, though, and this is no offense to our business engagement support team, like they do a great job, but talking of the sponsorships that, you know, I had personally envisioned back in 2018, the old joke of the Tostitos Community Center, like this kind of goes beyond their realm. So what this asking for is, yes, it's an unbudgeted amount of $75,000 to look into an external consultant. But I think there's an opportunity to get a value for what we have in the Town of Ajax to sell for sponsorship and naming rights. And I think this is a really important thing that needs to be engaged. The consultants will have those access to these larger companies. And I truly feel, you know, having lived here as long as we all have, that we know what we have in terms of the town's value. I think just we need third-party companies to understand what we have, and we need a consultant to kind of bridge that gap. I think this is going to be the opportunity for non-tax revenue that has been unexplored in Ajax, and I think this is the way to get there. So, you know, this is asking the Public and Strategic Affairs to engage with that consultant. So I would appreciate council support on this. I truly feel that at the end of this, we will see a large amount of money being invested into this town that I think is long overdue. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And as seconder, I'll just add, before anybody points out the unbudgeted funds of $75,000 price tag to this, and my sensitivity to that, if we are successful, and you're correct, we've developed this program about 5 years ago and so far have not had any. By doing this properly and getting this out there, if we were to happen to get one, that will cover the cost of this. So that's why I'm comfortable with it. Councilor Tyler Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, putting more butter on the bread here. I couldn't agree more with this motion. I'm so glad it's coming forth. And it's no slight on staff. I think that it's kind of a different set of muscles to go out into the marketplace and start, lack of a better word, start hustling and getting a marketing sponsorship agent. This it would be, in my mind and heart, akin to when I believe, Mr. Mayor, you brought forth the what was Liam Diaz, the blank and Liam's position, sponsorship. Grant, right, and I believe Cassandra, sorry, Ms. Brownridge was the first, and that was a perfect example of something that we created that cost money, but that, you know, we're on the positive side on that by, I think, millions of dollars. So I see this as being the same sort of thing. It excites me. Let's go NASCAR and start dressing those trucks. But just why not? It's not coming from the residents. It'd be great to have a number every year saying, you know, we raised $1 million or whatever every year from sponsorship. Obviously, there's parameters that we'd have to stay within, but yeah, full support. That's all I'm trying to say.
Councilor Henry?
Thank you. So when looking at this motion, I guess my first question would be, we had put something out to market with regards to the Audley Center. I've not seen anything come back with a report to that. Have we not been successful in that avenue? Through the mayor, I guess, would it be the CAO? Who would I be asking that of?
Through the mayor to Councilor Henry, I can take that. So there was an event in the fall that was held for the Audley Fairgrounds, seeking a naming rights sponsor for that. Staff identified a number of leads from that process, and in order to facilitate the kind of broadest window, I guess, an expression of interest was put out through procurement last month formally solicit offers of proposals. So that process is ongoing. Staff are meeting regularly with leads that have expressed interest, but to this point, no, there's been no agreement formalized, but it's something that staff are continuing to explore.
So would that proposal that went out, would that again comes back to this council for approval, correct?
Through the mayor to Councilor Henry, yes. Per the naming rights policy, any naming rights agreement does need to come back to council for council approval.
And if this motion is successful and goes forward today, would that avenue be pulled back and therefore placed with the folks that we hire to move this forward for the town as a whole?
No, so my understanding of the motion as it's currently written the purpose of hiring the consultant is to do an inventory of the town's assets. So that is looking beyond our existing kind of community centers that we have. It's looking at different opportunities for sponsorship. They will provide a report to staff that will say, listen, your recreation center, we believe that when you are soliciting leads and you're soliciting bids, you can get X number of dollars, roughly. And these are the things that you can market as part of that. And so they'll look at the number of folks that go through our facilities, number of eyes that see our snowplows, or a variety of different things, number of folks that attend our events. So the consultants will look at those pieces and document them so that staff have somewhat of a roadmap when they're kind of approaching naming rights sponsors or other leads in the future.
And we don't have an in-house didn't we just hire somebody in-house realtor that could do this, that could tell us our assets?
Through the chair, I think staff understand our assets. Like, we know we have X number of community centers, X number of rink boards, but the value of a report like this is it looking at what those are valued from a marketing perspective. So that is a very specific skill set that I think would go beyond the legal and real estate coordinator's role.
Understood. I'd like to suggest that we also be utilizing Mr. Sawanchuk, Michael Sawanchuk, thank you, more than we do, because I had reached out to him a while back with regards to the Rogers family and their ties to this community. And he came back with an email that tied the family to a cemetery, Quaker's house, 505 Kingston Road, like numerous places within the town, and how they were tied in with a little report. So I think that when we're going out to the market and we're looking to attract certain folks to come in, I for one do not want anything named after Cheetos, but the Roger, and I know that was a joke, but the Roger, or Tortillos, any of them, but the Rogers Center, something with Rogers, carries weight. It has a good standing weight within communities. So if we could, perhaps utilize him more in this process, I'm just throwing that on the table. I think he's got a very good untapped value that we haven't been maybe utilizing enough in this process. So I will support. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for the record, I will entertain all applications that want to sponsor our sites. Councilor Bauer.
Thank you, Mayor Collier. So I just want to clarify, I understand. So what we are asking for through this report, or through what the outcome will be, is we will not only have a value to place on putting your name on the building, it also determines sort of the periphery value of everything related to putting your name on that building. Is that right?
Absolutely, and I imagine once we, as in council, gets this report in October, which is the time frame, I think the next step might be engaging a third party from there to now sell us. Because again, I don't think it's within the skill set of our current best team to sell our product. I think if you look at most municipalities right now, they're selling to developers. It's the Flato Theater, right? I think there's an opportunity beyond that, but it's just like it's outside the scope of what municipalities look for. Sure. So it's like, let's find, again, I'm not trying to judge the results of the report, but if the report is like, oh, we do have substantial value, then perhaps the next step is to find a vendor to sell us to the world.
Okay. Understood. Thank you. That was it.
Councillor Dice.
Thank you. I guess, we talk about this frequently, but we never talk about how our residents here that own property in Ajax feel about us changing names on our facilities for funding. And it might be they love it, might be they're hesitant, I don't know. But have we ever considered even asking that question before we go out and do this process to help us make that decision?
Through the mayor to regional councillor Dies, I think the naming rights program, as mentioned by regional councillor Lee and the mayor, has been in whether it's the council strategic plan or has been included in a variety of council agendas in different iterations. I would expect that if a naming rights proposal was brought forth towards council. At this time, that in our policy is the public consultation, so it would be members of the public are welcome to attend that council meeting and share their thoughts with council at that time, but that is currently how it is documented in our policy.
It creates a lot of confusion in communities, and it takes a while for people to get used to a different name of a facility that's been here a long time. And I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it may not be, like it may be there for a time, but then it may change again.
Yes.
So it could always, and I don't know what that time frame would be. I guess that's what your consultant would decide. I don't know. But I just wondered why something like this that affects everybody in the area wouldn't go out to our residents and ask those questions, or at least discuss it, have a discussion about the possibilities of revenue, of course, and the name changes and what that would mean. Because this is a big decision. We're assuming we're going to jump on the bandwagon because, well, we don't have any sort of commitments finalized, but we're pushing ahead. But we've never had any conversation openly with the public about it. So I would wonder if that be something you would, consider.
Through the mayor to regional council Dies, as I mentioned, in our current policy, we have council as our mechanism. We don't have a formal mechanism. It was a corporate policy, so changes to that process would need to be directed by council.
I'll just add, Councillor Dies, and I have talked at length of this in the last election, that council are elected to make these decisions on behalf of the residents. We've heard loud and clear about taxes being high and looking at alternative revenue streams, non-tax revenue, and this is one of those. So I'm comfortable making this decision. This is going to come back to council. As far as time frame, I don't think I consider anything less than 10 years. We're not going to name a rec center for something less than 10 years, I don't think. That type of commitment, I don't expect this. I would never support something that's going to change on an annual or a couple of year basis. So I think these are some questions that we will vet through the process. This is just identifying in the first step, if that helps.
I've seen the O'Keefe Center in my lifetime change names 4 or 5 times. Yeah, Meridians. And I just think there's a need to have a conversation, but if we could do that, if this comes out of this, this research, looking at these analysis of the different buildings we own, then fine. But I'm really not comfortable with it otherwise. I can wait and see. Thank you.
And I can add a couple. The GM Center was now the Tribute Center. Air Canada Center is now Scotiabank. Skydome is now Rogers Center. It's the term of their contract for the marketing, and it's pretty standard. Councillor Tyler Moore?
Thanks for letting me back in. A rarity for me. I just wanted to say to my colleagues, I have spirit for this, I have passion for this, but I don't want you to think I'm thinking recklessly. It's got to be dignified, it's got to be the right vibe, and it's going to be coming back to council, as the mayor has said. But I can tell you that, not scientifically, but I've spoken to easily more than 100 residents, just very, informally at some of our meetings. And everyone across the board, I've never had one person say, oh, no. They've always said, it's a tax break. It's a break on our non-residential taxes. So, and I just wanted to say that for the record. Thank
Being nothing, yeah, thank you for that. Seeing nobody else, can we open the vote, please? Yeah. Everybody vote. That carries unanimously. The next item is the Senior Transportation Policy Survey. Councillor Dies, Councillor Bauer. Councillor Dies, will press your button. There you go.
Thank
Floor
you,
is
Chair.
yours.
Don't touch it, right.
Don't touch it.
Oh, you said touch it. Anyway, sorry. The transportation survey, the senior one, it's interesting that we had a seniors meeting not long ago with a huge number of seniors that attended on transportation, and loud and clear, the system is failing them. And this is the fourth time as councillor in Ward 3 that Durham Transit has canceled the bus route in Ward 3 in South Ajax. And that's where we have 3 seniors residences and a lot of seniors living who bought homes in that first subdivision that have nowhere to relocate to. So it cuts them off from getting their groceries, getting to their medical appointments, all kinds of things. And we don't seem to be able to resolve this problem with Durham Transit. So we do need some more information, and I do support that going forward, to get some more information from seniors as to what they really need and how they can access transportation needs in our municipality. Because we're one of the first new subdivisions in South Ajax, south of Bailey, that was built, and we don't get bus stop service because we don't generate enough people to fill a bus. Well, that's called urban sprawl. It's not our fault. So our buses now are going north because in the north they have a heavier, more densely populated areas and heavier transit that fills buses on a regular basis. So we really need to do some research, and I think Seniors Month is a great time to do it. Thank you.
Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Mayor Collier. Thank you, Regional Councillor Dies. So, you know, I agree. This has been a conversation ongoing since, I'm sure, well before I joined this council. But, you know, since I've been on it, we've all sort of touched on this need for transportation solutions. I believe there's one of the strat plan items was the shuttle bus service to look at transporting resident seniors from the centers amongst each other in town facilities. That was Mayor Collier and I who talked about that with Director Vida. And then during COVID, there was conversation. I was able to work with Durham Region Transit to have an additional bus route put along the waterfront so that residents who couldn't access our waterfront by car could get on the bus and get there. That was really important. I know Regional Councillor Dies this has been a priority for her since I've known her, and I'm sure many years prior. I know Councillor Henry is very involved in transportation for residents and senior residents in the town. And, you know, of course, Marilyn Crawford, Regional Councillor Crawford, is currently the chair of Durham Region Transit, and she was responsible for the most recent meeting at Town Hall that led to this motion for the survey. So I think this is just something that is a priority and important to our council, and so I think a survey makes good sense to keep this moving forward. So I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Henry.
Thank you. Yes, I'm going to support this, but I do have some questions. We know that this council has received a petition with over 1,000 senior signatures within the town of Ajax. That's no small feat when you're talking about folks going door to door in senior residential spaces, including rent-geared income spaces. And my question is, will the petition that was received at the meeting that was held here be submitted to the region by regional councillors? And I believe there's some
Councillor
kind
Henry,
of review.
This is on undertaking a comprehensive survey of seniors 55 plus by our staff, not to do with the survey.
But the survey sparked this motion, Mayor.
Doesn't matter. Speak to the motion, please.
Okay, so then, once this paper survey comes back, is this survey that we are taking internally going to be used to ask, let me reword this. Will it be asked to supplement public transit services? Or are we looking at the survey for in-house solutions that are private within the town? Can I ask that question?
To the mover and seconder, Councillor Dies, can you answer that?
I think the information would be important to maybe taking that to regional council as a motion to reinstate the bus service in the south. We've had 4 meetings with them already. They know the issues. They know what the issues are.
Sorry, they mean transit?
Transit 4 times, and I mean, Regional Council Crawford was good enough to arrange for that and host those. But this last one that was here at the town hall, they made it quite clear they weren't interested in making any changes. So we need to go further and start to get our own research and start to find out how we can move that quicker.
So we're looking at, so the goal here for this motion is looking at.
To get some more information?
And take it back to a public-funded regional transit?
No, it will be coming to the September 8th GTC meeting.
Yes.
And I assume, and Ms. Brownridge, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, that there may be some staff recommendations, perhaps?
Hopefully.
Through the mayor to Councillor Henry, yeah, I won't presuppose what the report will say, but I do expect that if there's action to be taken, it will come back to council as part of that in September.
And we'll make those decisions on September 8th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further? Hearing, seeing none, please open the vote. And that carries unanimously. Look what a collegial group we have today. Bylaws, moving on to bylaws. We've already dealt with 34 and 36. Moved by Councillor Dies, second by Councillor Tyler Moore, and that bylaws number 29, 2025 to 33, 2025, not including 34 and 36, be read a first, second, third time and passed. Oh,
Just
yeah,
one
I guess that would make
clarification.
sense.
Sorry,
Yes.
just one clarification. We have passed 34, 35, and 36 as they all pertain to the same development.
Got it. Thank you. And I disregarded what I said, 29 to 33, 2025. Questions, comments? Councillor Henry?
Sorry, did you say 30, 20, 25?
29-2025 to 33-2025 inclusive.
So my question is with regards to 30, 2025, amendment to private transportation bylaw.
Okay. Go ahead.
Is this amendment is coming through which department? Through legislative services?
Yes, that's correct.
Correct. So Manager Derek Hanna has obviously overviewed this.
He wrote it.
He wrote it, right? So, sorry, I apologize. I'm looking for my screen and I'm going through
Councillor
it.
Henry, all this is doing is removing the cross-boundary restriction that we currently have. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. Currently, there is a shortage of accessible taxis.
Yes.
And having that boundary where an Ajax cab can't pick up in Whitby is problematic. This removes that. So an Ajax cab can now pick up in Oshawa.
And there's no other changes, correct?
Correct.
Okay, then I'm fine with it.
Maybe some minor wording to make that happen, but that's the gist of it.
The reason I'm asking is because of a recent email we all received. You know what I'm referring to. So thank you. I just want to clarify. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the bylaws? Please open the vote. That carries. Are there any notice of motion? Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Next month, Councillor Bauer and I will be moving forth a motion regarding landlord-tenant reforms.
Okay. Any other notice of motion? Moving on to new business and announcements. Councillor Tyler Moore.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, meet Regional Councillor Marilyn Crawford and myself, Rob Tyler Moore, and discuss Ward 1 community issues at our upcoming ward meeting, Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. But if you're listening at home, it's 65 Harwood Avenue South. It's in the River Plate Room here at Town Hall. So usually we're at McLean Center. We'll be at the River Plate Room in Town Hall, 7 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, 2 days from now. Look forward to seeing everyone. Please bring a friend.
Yeah. Councillor Dies.
Thank you.
Away.
For the public who are interested in learning more about the homelessness issue, we are hosting at the St. Francis Center on April 30th, a forum which includes a panel of speakers from Health and Social Services, from not-for-profit housing, from one of the outreach teams that go out, and moderated by a member of the GAP, or the sort of the homelessness committee here in Ajax, and also someone who works with CDCD that provides a lot of the services for homelessness. So it's going to be held from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. at the St. Francis Center. Everyone is more than welcome to attend. There is no cost. It's a free event. So we hope to see you there so we can help answer some of your questions about this ongoing problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Mayor. This Thursday, April the 24th, members of the Miles family will be coming to visit the town of Ajax. Ken and Sarah Miles. Ken is the grandson of Richard Frederick Miles, who is a veteran, a River Plate Ajax veteran, and one of the 7 Miles assigned to Miles Drive in Ward 3. So there is a formal dedication and plaque installation on Thursday, April 24th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon near 48 Miles Drive. And then I also wanted to mention for any Ward 3 residents who would like to book a short virtual meeting with your local Ward 3 representative, please email me at lisa.bauer@ajax.ca. I'm hosting virtual meetings 15 or 20 minutes on Monday, April the 28th, starting at 6:30 there. We're almost booked up. I have a few spots left, so please, if you're interested, send me an email. Happy to accommodate you. Thank you, Mayor.
Welcome. Councillor Henry.
Thank you. On April 28th, I will be hosting a Ward 2 council meeting at Audley Recreation Center, and this will be in Section C, Entrance Point C. Special guests will include Manager of Bylaw Services, Derek Hanna, and we will also have Road Watch there available. Come by, get a free sign for your lawn or a free leaf bag from Road Watch, ask some questions, join the organization, and please vote before you come. Thank you.
Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. I have a few of them. We will start with Friday, May 3rd, 4th, and 5th, the Ajax Creative Arts Splash of Color Art Show and Sale. Please visit the Village Community Center and support local artists. Number 2, this Friday, April 25th, is Friday Night Live, hosted by the Town of Ajax, Quizzes and Cocktails 3. My team won the first one. We lost the second one. We're going to win the third one. Our team name is going to be "You Dim Some, You Lose Some," and yeah, we're gonna rock that. We're gonna bring it back. And I also have a ward meeting. It's on April 29th, 7 p.m. at the Rec Center, soon to be named the Tostitos Community Center. And yeah, we'll have Acting Inspector Roy Lowe there answering customer or constituent concerns. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Crawford.
I only have a question. Can we have the homelessness evening put in our calendars? We don't have that in our calendars, so that would be great.
Through the mayor, yes, of course, we'll do that now.
Moved by Councillor Tyler Moore and second by Councillor Bauer, that the bylaw number 37-2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the town of Ajax at its regular meeting held on April 22nd, 2025, be read a first, second, third time and passed. Questions? Please vote. That carries. And finally, moved by Councillor Crawford, second by Councillor Lee, that the April 22nd, 2025 meeting of council of the town of Ajax be adjourned. Those in favor? Where Sterling votes no. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff. Enjoy the rest of your day.